I'm home here also, because in my other life, as a lecturer at the university, I used to be an external examiner here. So I am absolutely delighted to see Dr. Esther Towo there. You are hiding, but I can see you. Dr. Towo. I don't know whether Dr. Mari is around here. I would love to see him again. He was like somebody responsible for academic. Is around? No. I understand Dr. Liheta has retired already, but I feel I'm home within the community which I've worked and enjoyed very much, and I'm really delighted to see quite improvement in the facilities that you have here. Congratulations, Vice Chancellor, and congratulations also Professor Bey for the work that you also contributed. The town of Moshi can credibly stake a claim as the birthplace of cooperative movement in Africa. It is in this town that KNCU was formally launched in 1933 and that became the first cooperative union of Africans and for the crops in Africa. It is therefore fitting that this conference takes place in Moshi. Even the university, the co-organizer here, in certain ways, its location here is a legacy of the KNCU, that this was like the epicenter of cooperative development. We'll continue to count on this university as an intellectual force that will promote the spirit of cooperative movement by way of training, research, and other intellectual services. So you can count on us also to support your work, Mr. Vice Chancellor. The theme of this conference is apt: cooperatives and industrialization, putting members first. I wish to outline the general relevance of this theme in connection to not only agriculture, but specific crop economy. Cooperative arrangement cut across many sectors: financial, livestock, fisheries, crop, and so on and so forth. But my remarks will be limited to cooperatives and industrialization in connections to the economics of farming, particularly crop industry. And I'm not just doing that because I am the Minister of Agriculture, basically almost the Minister of Crops, but also responsible for cooperative development in the country, but because crops industry employs the largest number of people in this country. So I'm going to limit my remarks in that area to try to connect the theme of this conference. So let us remember that cooperative movements are born out of the quest for better capacity of individuals, households, to deal with the forces that are generally difficult to deal with individually. For example, it is difficult for a single small-scale farmers to harness fully the potential of the market. It is also impossible for a single small-scale farmers to fully bear the burden of all the overhead costs of production. It is therefore no surprise that individuals, small-scale farmers may want to come together through cooperative arrangements to seek common market solutions and share the overhead cost of their productive activities. But it is not just the economics of production that drive the quest for cooperatives. There is also a strong desire to come together into cooperative arrangements as a means of fostering a more fair society. Concerns of inequality is an important driving force here. Now let us look at the situation of small-scale farmers in Africa, and I'll take Tanzania as a case. in point. About 60% of the labor force in Tanzania is deployed in agriculture, mostly in crop farming. However, crop farming contributes only 15% of the GDP. There are three implications of this structural picture. The first is widespread poverty in the rural area. If 60% of the labor force is deployed into agriculture but contributes only 15% of the GDP, that also reflects what they consume in the society. So the entire production in the economy, you have about 60% of the people consuming only 15% of that output. And the second implication is structural economic inequality. Huge inequality. Again, if only 6% of the labor force get only 15% of total output, it means there are fewer people who get the lion's share and majority gets peanut in the economy. That means huge economic inequality. And the third implication is that productivity is extremely low in the agricultural sector. And that can be reflected if you review individual crops. We haven't had a very successful green revolution in Africa. So you can count one crop after the other, and you can just look at the yield and see how low the yield is. That means also very low productivity. So you have those kind of situations, and there are two extreme ways of looking at them. I'm halfway, you can combine the two options that I'm going to tell you. So there are those who believe that to solve these three issues, we should simply pursue large-scale commercial farming. The argument is that large-scale commercial farmers are more efficient and more productive and can enjoy stronger bargaining power in the market. In this sense, such arrangement can also foster development of vibrant agro-business industry, which will employ the labor force that will be landless because they will be squeezed out of the land to pave ways for large-scale commercial farming. So that's one way of looking at it. And there are those who make arguments. I was in a plane once coming back, and there was one of the members of the business community in Tanzania. They were saying, you are not going to change agriculture in Tanzania unless you find ways of just having huge tracts of land allocated to investors who will undertake commercial farming, will become more productive, and the rest of the people can be employed in those farms or can seek employment elsewhere. They will be landless through that arrangement. But that's an economic argument that you'll come across time and again. The other view is that we should encourage farmers to organize themselves into cooperative union so that through proper production arrangement, they can harness the scale economies, promote efficiency, and uplift productivity in a way to achieve the same things that you can achieve if we are to amalgamate all farms into large-scale farming, commercial farming. And through cooperative arrangement, farmers can equally command strong bargaining power in the market. The question that remains to be answered is, how do you make such cooperative arrangements harness the full potential of the crop industry and at the same time bolster agro-processing industry? Now, the argument that if you have large-scale commercial farmers, they can improve efficiency, they will lift productivity, and also bolster development of agro-processing in the country. If you turn around and talk about cooperative movements, if you properly arrange so that they can share some overhead costs, they can organize their farming efficiently together, they will command stronger bargaining power in the market. The question that remains is how to make them at the same time get involved in the as large segment as possible of the value chain of their farming, so that you can harness the same economic benefit that you will harness if you have large-scale commercial farming. To do that, it means going beyond just farming, but into as much value addition as possible. It means going beyond farming and going into industrialization and ensuring that members are, as your theme suggests, at the center of such an arrangement. How do we achieve these under cooperative arrangements? That's the question, and that's the kind of answer I'll expect to get from the proceedings of this conference. So I look forward to reading the proceedings of your conference, and given the guiding theme, I believe we'll garner more ideas on how to move forward. In the country, we strongly push for cooperative arrangements of production in the farming and in other areas at the same time. We also welcome commercial farmers, but we are sensitive not to create landless class of people in this country just for the sake of commercializing farmers. So we can go both, it's hybrid formation, but we also want farmers, small-scale, smallholders, to enjoy scales of economies, high efficiency, high productivities, strong bargaining power, and also to enjoy as large a segment of the value chain as possible while still retaining their land. And I believe, because this is the organizing theme of your conference, we'll be able to pick some ideas from you. So honestly, I'm looking forward, Mr. Vice Chancellor, to getting a copy of the proceedings. I'll try to educate myself from your contribution on the theme of the conference. However, I hope that in spite of your hard work, and I believe you are going to work very hard, you still find time to enjoy what Moshi can offer, especially those coming from afar. Shimeles, I understand from Finland, eh? Ndemine, and Dr. Ritva, and those who are from outside Moshi, try to spend some money in Moshi and enjoy. With these few remarks, therefore, it's my pleasure to declare this second international conference officially open. Thank you very much.